Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're going to map out exactly how population dynamics crash into economic systems. Let's just jump right in and set a quick baseline.
You might remember poverty trap from our last explainer. Basically, it's this vicious cycle where low income leads straight to low investment, which absolutely kills productivity. And boom, you're driven right back to low income. It's a really tough loop to break.
But in a lot of developing countries right now, something else entirely is happening. We're seeing massive population explosions. Now, on paper, you'd think, hey, more people means more workers, more ideas, more economic growth, right? Well, instead of supercharging the economy, it's actually holding it back.
Here's the paradox. The absolute fastest population growth is happening right in the middle of the world's poorest economies. Take Nigeria, for instance. Their population is projected to practically double, hitting 400 million by 2050. To put that crazy number into perspective, that is literally like taking the entire population of Western Europe and dropping them into an economic system that's already struggling to keep its head above water.
Now imagine what that means.
You've got millions of new people entering the system every single year, and they all need the absolute basics. We're talking schools, jobs, housing, healthcare, the foundational pillars of a functioning society.
But here's the catch. These economies are already stretched incredibly thin. They lack the strong tax revenue, the deep investment, and the solid infrastructure required to expand at that dizzying speed. So rapid population growth doesn't actually accelerate development. It completely, totally overwhelms it.
And you can see this playing out right at the household level where the cycle just feeds itself. If a family has 5 or 6 kids, their income gets stretched paper thin. Less money per child means less access to education, which leads to lower future productivity, and yeah, you guessed it, a direct path right back into poverty.
Now, scale that micro problem up to a national level. In some of these nations, literally half the entire population is under 18 years old. That is a massive, massive ratio of dependents compared to working-age adults. And because of that lopsided ratio, a government's national resources are almost entirely consumed by basic survival. They have to pour everything into primary schools and food systems, which means there's virtually nothing left over in the budget for industrial investment, infrastructure, or innovation.
But here's what most people miss.
Population growth absolutely does not equal automatic economic growth. That so-called demographic dividend, the economic boom you're supposed to get from a young workforce, well, it only works under one strict condition. The economy has to actually be able to absorb those new workers into productive jobs. If the jobs aren't there, the dividend vanishes.
Now compare this. Back in the 1960s, South Korea was a relatively poor country, but they successfully absorbed their booming youth population into productive manufacturing jobs. That is a textbook demographic dividend. But flash forward to today, in parts of sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia, millions are entering the workforce, and there are no factory jobs waiting for them. Instead, they're forced into the informal economy, working in street markets or just facing severe underemployment.
And this is where the macro trap just snaps shut. Immense system pressure means weak economies with no jobs. No jobs means low income. And as we know, low income ensures that high fertility rates just keep continuing. It's an incredibly stubborn loop.
Naturally, this dynamic radically widens global inequality. You've got poorer countries basically treading water, spending all their energy just trying to educate millions of youth, while richer economies, with lower fertility rates, are investing heavily in automation and increasing wealth per worker. The global gap, it isn't just financial anymore. It's fundamentally demographic.
And the spillover effects are very real. When millions of young people enter adulthood without any real economic opportunity, instability naturally follows. We're talking intense migration pressure, extreme urban overcrowding, and a severely heightened risk for social unrest. It's a pressure cooker.
Not because people are the problem,
but because the system just can't absorb them. You see, population growth itself is actually a neutral force. Its impact entirely depends on structural timing and whether the economy has the physical capacity to keep up with the influx.
Which brings us right to the core definition of the demographic trap. It is not about having too many people. It's about having too many people entering a system that simply isn't ready for them. When you combine this with the poverty trap we talked about earlier, the entire economic system is placed under this constant, unrelenting strain.
all of this leaves us with a pretty profound question to chew on. What exactly happens when a country operating under this extreme demographic strain relies almost entirely on natural resources just to survive? Well, that perfectly sets up our next explainer on the rentier state trap. I'll see you then.